I try not to make you laugh like, oh,
No, it's you could talk now.
all right.
Keep what try not to make
I
me
just
laugh
wanted to know,
like
was I not supposed to make you laugh or is this very serious?
no. Our best ones, the more later date ones now are something will happen funny. I mean, and yeah, always this is all just
Well,
natural.
I did glean from some of the more recent ones I listened to is that I'm not the only one who busts your balls. So I feel like there's sort of a green light. When the moment overcomes me to just sort of let you have it.
Just do it. You do it the best. So I think everyone's gonna try. It'll be like a contest after this one.
Oh,
So
great.
and then all right, well let's get started. And
Let's get started, Phil.
all right, so cool. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lightbulb Moments. This is Phil Fernaro. Lightbulb Moments, all about the energy. We're going to have a great guest today, Lou Wallach. We'll talk more about him shortly, but it's an exciting one for me, at least. We've had a long history. Anyway, Fernaro, Lightbulb Moments is all about problem solving, connecting. This particular one will be talking about networking and past relationships that existed, disappeared, came back and I great joy from talking to Lou. So you'll hear about that. But what we want to do is try to add value, and we want to see our network. And this one's going to prove that our network is in every industry because I don't know anybody else that does what Lou does. And I've known him since college. 1983 to 87, we first met. He's probably my first New Yorker I ever met. And Lou Wallach is one of the most creative people that I know. And this is why I think this is going to be impactful to all of you out there because if you're in a business, if you operate at a high level, guess what? You have to be creative. You can't just be stabilized. You can't just level off and hope business comes or grows or relationships build. You got to be creative about it and figure out and try things. And that's why I've always loved talking to Lou because he's got that mind that I don't have and I learned from him over the years. As I suggested, he brought me back to New York with one of our good friends, Eric Hers, back in the day. We'll talk a little bit about that, but he brought me in the late '80s and early '90s when it was the depths of New York City and a lot different than what we experience today in Manhattan. Um, so anyway, without further ado, because I don't want to waste any time, because I want you to hear Lou's voice, and I want to have this discussion with him. So to start off, Lou Wallach, why in the hell do I have to wait to a podcast to talk to you over the last 6 months to 9 months? I'm pretty upset with you at this point.
Oh, well, I didn't realize we're starting on that sort of a note. Well, before I begin, let me ask you a question. Am I the first Jew on the podcast?
Wait, what? See,
I,
it's
I
already
I
started.
feel like I am. I feel like I might be. I'm not. I'm not angling for any. I'm not making a passive aggressive or rhetorical point. I'm just curious. I was the first New Yorker you met, so it's sort of
Yeah, I
then
don't
just
think you are.
okay.
I think I got
Just
to look back.
curious.
No. But I'm glad
Just
my start
curious.
inspired that.
Okay.
So
Well,
so
the reason I wanted to talk about that because today, the high holiday of Yom Kippur also begins this evening. I thought you and I could maybe scratch the surface a little bit on the conflict that's going on in Israel and on the with Hamas. Is
hey, we
that
haven't had any political discussions on this podcast. So, I'm all game. And happy Yom Kippur.
Oh, thank you. It's the opposite of a happy holidays, but thanks, Phil. Thanks for playing. All right, where should we start? What was the question? Why you had to wait? Uh, One, the first time I think I was completely ill prepared. Hadn't even read the email that Valerie sent me. I think the second one, my wife actually had a little procedure. She's fine now. Thanks for not asking. And then
It's
now I
written
only
right
moved it.
here. You didn't give me a
I only moved.
chance.
I'm sorry. I only moved it twice. You'll ask me later. I only moved it twice, Phil. I mean, look, I can only. I'm given certain times, and some of them by your office, some of them work, some of them don't. But here we are, Phil. Why are you dwelling on the past instead of looking forward?
Ah, see, this is the fun of this. I'm all about the energy, right? I'm all about the
Oh,
high energy. So I would
I
just
am too.
I
I
wanted
am
to
too.
see how you responded to negativity at the beginning. And see that you turned it into positivity
Great.
and negativity.
Wow. Look how strong I am in the face of adversity.
Holy cow. This is high high
Yeah,
energy.
I'm
So
gonna go back and start low because I think in any good storytelling, and I work in a business of storytelling, I want to start at a place that is sort of open to everybody and build. I'm gonna build to something great.
yeah, so this is the interesting part is that Manhattan is all about energy too, and I love that place. And I found, great sanctity there. We try to go there all the time, and I'm always looking to see my old friends, especially chasing down you and Tim Green and Doug Alsace and the rest. And it really, really has been a nice journey. And then now you were in the Midwest, we're a little bit more calm, and then now you're on the West Coast most of the time, and it's a complete opposite. How are you dealing with those different dynamics?
I sort of have the best of both worlds right now. In all seriousness, it is something I consider a luxury. I don't know how long that luxury is going to last because in my living situation, it only gets more expensive. So we still, for those who don't know, which is probably all of you, I had been living in New York where I raised my family, my two kids, who coincidentally are both living in Chicago right now.
Uh,
And we raised them in Manhattan. My wife and I both worked full time in Manhattan. We would come out to LA for business as we're both in the entertainment business of television. Sports and news are usually located in New York, and entertainment's really rooted in LA. And about, I guess, right before the pandemic, we had decided as our last child was going to leave the nest, we would move to LA, and we weren't ready to throw in the towel yet on our careers. So we came out here. Well, the pandemic gave us a couple extra years in New York, and then we came out here. It's been about 3 years, but we still maintain our home in New York. My issue with how long this luxury is going to last is, things in New York, even if you're not living there, still just get more expensive and more expensive. There's without getting it, nobody needs to know my personal life, but with assessments and other things, the cost of maintaining a home that you don't live in. At some point we'll have to reevaluate. But I will say my wife and I will always have a footprint in New York in some capacity. And I say it like that because it's really nice out here. I think after, growing up in that area and going through your 30s and 40s in New York and busting your ass and raising kids and everything else. And the pandemic was really the icing on the cake, but I can't blame the whole thing on the pandemic. New York is fucking exhausting. It's loud, it's dirty, it's expensive, it's loud, it's dirty, it's exciting. It was time to go. And right now I'm sitting on the roof of the townhome we're renting, and you get much better bang for your buck out here. And there's barely a cloud in the sky, and it's 80 degrees, and it can get monotonous, but you weigh that between, either the humidity or the bitter cold. And as I get older, this sort of mild climate, I think both literally and sort of tonally, we enjoy. It's a much more relaxed pace out here. It's a much more outdoor activity driven sort of a place. It's much more of an early to bed, early to rise. And you know what? It's really refreshing. It's nice.
oh man, you're depressing me.
No, look, there's other things, but look, there are things I miss about a big city. We went to visit our kids for 48 hours a couple weekends ago, and we had that city energy again. We were down in the West
Yeah,
Loop off of Randolph,
sure.
and where my son lives, and it was great. And I'm going back to New York a week from Friday to make sure my apartment hasn't burned down yet, and
Yeah.
see my family and some old colleagues of mine from Comedy Central, and that's great. I'm really looking forward to it. I sort of get my monthly or every other month injections worth of New York. But then it seems to be it's a young man's place. It's I feel like New York, you either have to be younger or way older. You can afford to live there as a retiree and just sort of enjoy it, and you've planned for it, or you are you're you figured out a way to live really poor. You're in a rent control apartment. You're doing whatever, or you're filthy rich, which it's a really nice way to live in New York. I think anywhere in that middle of those four quadrants,
You're
if you're like
always,
if you're a middle-aged, middle-class person, it's hard, man. New
it
York is
is.
hard.
It is hard. You know, I love going there because I never had it. We went every once in a while, and it's such a great time every time we went or went back. I took my kids every year, and my
Yeah,
wife
I
obviously.
remember he would drive.
Yeah, we would drive every year, so, it was spring break. Everyone's going to the balmy weather of California, Florida, Cancun, whatever. And I'm freezing my, butt off in old dreary Manhattan. And but we loved it. My kids loved
But
it.
you
No one
loved it, right?
complained.
It's exciting. Yeah.
And we got to do things, that other people weren't talking about. I ended up at John's Pizza all the time. It's kind of like it was something that was really important to my family. And
Yeah,
but
you went to. I remember you took him to Yankee Stadium. You went to a bunch of places.
oh, that was seriously, that was there. There's two things in my life. When we went to old time Yankee Stadium, the first Yankee Stadium, it was the most wonderful experience. At some point, I'll tell that whole story. But we sat in the family section, and the family section had been together. My kids probably never heard more f bombs in their whole
Yes.
entire life. And then they had the dancers on the seventh inning or the fifth
Oh yeah,
inning.
yeah, yeah. Well, they do it in the fourth inning after they come out and they sweep the infield. But yeah, then
Yeah,
again in the seventh.
yeah, and we that was our best time. And then the other one, we came back to New Yankee Stadium. My daughter Emma, she decided she was going away to school to Iowa, and I
Hmm.
said, so I was really depressed. So I grabbed my youngest and said, "Let's get on a plane. We're going to a Yankee game." So we went and got a slice, went to a Yankee game, and then flew back the next day. It was
Good for
that
you.
same day. That was fun.
Good for you. I'm surprised you didn't take him to see a White Sox game. I mean, they had such a great season this year. Sorry.
Oh my God. I just can't. I mean, it's so brutal. I don't know how that happens. We're a major city. I mean, I know the Cubs
Major city, the third biggest city in the country. I mean, it's yeah.
it's
Well,
horrible. So going back to, we'll get to this. I'd
yeah.
much rather talk about some of this fun
Talk
stuff.
about energy. Energy you were talking about.
But I'm really happy that you're enjoying yourself in California
I am. Thank you.
because I think it took a little while for that to sort of connect in your brain that it was an important step for you, I think.
Yes, I think you're correct. A backstory for all you listeners who I know are just on the edge of their seats waiting for it. After Phil and I graduated college, chronologically, I'm not as old as Phil said we are. We actually, Phil, you went to high school from 83 to 87. You and I
Oh,
met in the
that's
fall of
right.
87. I'm just
Maybe.
going to remind you, you graduated college in 1991. We're still old. I'm just not
Oh,
that old.
oh man.
I've
Oh,
yet
I'm
to collect
such an
my early
idiot.
Social Security. No more than usual. So after I graduated in 91, I sort of didn't have a plan. I was one of those guys who graduated. I didn't have a job at a bank or at a consulting firm, and I wasn't going to grad school or law school or medical school, and had wanted to get into this business we call show, and knew enough from never having worked a summer or anything in the entertainment industry that again, entertainment programming was in California, and I had a plan. I sort of wanted my parents, emotional support, or maybe the other way to say it is I wanted them off my back. I wanted to be guilt free of going for a year. And if I couldn't get on a track, I did take the LSATs and told my dad I would go back to law school as like a fallback. But I went out to California and I lived here in my 20s, and I didn't adjust to it as easy as you would have thought. And I'm a guy who in general can adjust pretty well. Like, in a worst case scenario, or if there was a terrific job opportunity or life opportunity to live somewhere, I really could go anywhere. And that means it could be the middle of the country, it could be another country. Um, I think the woman I ended up marrying, who we got together in the 90s in LA, who was also from New York, maybe not as much. And that's okay. Everybody's sort of wired differently. Um, I think my son, for example, he really missed a sense of community when he graduated school and 2 years ago, and came out to LA and liked what he was doing, but it was very hard from what he was used to in more sort of urban environments where between either high school or sports or college or work, where it wasn't as community oriented for him. He didn't have his people, and LA is sort of known for that. It's very spread out. Not a lot of walking around. There's not a ton of human interaction. There's no bar scene, if you will, in that sense. So he moved back to Chicago as much, if not more, for personal reasons, I think, than professional. But that's a different story. But it is all working out well for all you guys who might be worried. But for me, it was odd. My first few years in LA, it just felt like the weather never changed. there was no, it felt like there was no forward progress. I was getting older, but nothing else around me was changing. But it was a fun time to be in the business, and I got lucky in that sense because my wife and I at that time were both exploring in the late '90s ways to go back to New York. Could we have a career in what we were doing in New York? And we both at that point were in the cable business, the cable television business. I think we all grew up. I'm assuming the demographic of the people, there's at least a demographic similar to ours, Phil, who listen to this podcast, who probably all grew up watching only broadcast television because that's only what was available.
No, that's
Um,
true.
and right around the time we were in college, somebody said, "Oh, this cable business is real, and we're making money. We've got revenue coming in from two different ways with a affiliate carriage fees, and there's actually some advertisers are starting to pay more and more every year as we get more eyeballs. We should start doing original programming instead of just, off-net stuff or repeats of old library stuff." And it was a unique opportunity where I went in for a job interview at Comedy Central, and I thought I was interviewing for an LA job. I mean, I knew corporately they were based in New York, but the position to do original programming and run a department was in New York. And my wife was working at Lifetime then, which was a cable television network
Oh, I
geared for
remember
women.
Lifetime. Yeah.
And
A lot of
her
tearjerker movies, right?
still are that seems to be their bread and butter still. And she was able to transfer, and we moved to New York, and it was really great because we raised our kids around family. My kids know the kids of dear old 40, 45-year-old friendships of people I grew up with. They saw their grandparents, their cousins, and everything else. But there was that concern that would our careers, would we not reach our career potential being sort of out of sight, out of mind? But we found a balance. We found a really great balance. And then as the cable business sort of gave way to streaming and other things, there are a bunch of cable networks that they're mostly still there, but the talent pool, I think, really wants to be out here because there are more opportunities. It's film and TV, it's broadcast, it's cable, it's streaming, it's podcasts, it's this and that. And while New York still has its cachet in that space, it is, by comparison, LA, a much more niche or smaller space. And sure, there are days where I'm, depending on my mood, I may go, fuck, maybe I should have stayed in LA all the time. But you know what? My kids turned out great. The relationship with our family and friends is as close as it's ever been or will be. And, we're back out here. And, something we may want to touch on later. Well, my wife's career is actually booming out here. And mine, I ended up sort of falling victim to the great Netflix effect of my industry has been in serious contraction over the last 3 years. I got the it's not you, it's us speech from Netflix. I was one of 1,000 people who got laid off in a day. I took a package, I left, 500 other people followed after that. And then you saw it going around Paramount Global, Warner Brothers Discovery, and even tangentially related places, Spotify, everything. So but I would much rather try to do something entrepreneurial, which I'm sort of looking at now out here than I would be in New York. I think the opportunities to network and find out where those opportunities are and let people know what I'm interested in doing are out here more than they are in New York. And quite frankly, believe it or not, I think from a physical aspect, I couldn't sit in an apartment in New York anymore. I mean, it's there's a lot to be said for when you're trying to do something entrepreneurial on your own. It's okay to take an hour or two and go walk around, go for a run, go hit a tennis ball, do something, because you know what? It's become 24/7. There's no really any set hours anymore.
So this is you're one of the I like to follow the bouncing ball, but there's so many balls going in right now. They're
I'm
all over the place.
sorry. I'm sorry,
No,
Phil.
no, 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 no. It's
Phil,
good.
you got to do a better job fucking managing me, man.
That's exactly right. I got to start cutting you off, but I'll be like the what was that the debate where I could push a button and shut you up for a couple of minutes.
Yes. You turn off my mic. Phil, you've done this before, right? It's like
This is my first time.
it feels like it. Jesus. Okay.
So
All right.
wait, so there was a couple doozies in there.
Yes.
First of all, I want to ask you,
Yes.
how'd you do on the LSAT? Did you? I think you did very well, right?
I did okay. I did okay for a guy who I didn't study much, and I shouldn't say this anyway, but it's well. Look, I'm never going to run for office, so what do I care? I think I dropped acid 2 days before
Oh shit.
at a dead show, but all in, I got a. I
Oh boy.
remember. I don't remember the exact score, but it was an 83rd percentile, so I could have gotten somewhere.
And I think I
But
remember this. I was so angry because you didn't study, and I think I got my results, and it's like, oh my God, Lou,
yeah, but
go.
look, I mean, it's there are days where I look back and I go, oh, I should have gone to law school. I would have had a fallback. But it's look, wherever you go, Phil, you're always going to be a lawyer. It's I have to go. If I still want to work, it's mine is the locations are sort of narrowed down for me. So it's a different way of looking at things, and
Yeah,
and I think about that.
no, for sure. All this stuff, or our decisions are our decisions. But what I really like what you said, and I think that that's very important for our bright community to understand is that despite potential opportunities, sometimes balance in life, or balance in the world, or appeasing a spouse or a child or whatever, or family members,
Hmm.
it's really hard, to sort of branch off when you have those connections, and keeping the balance is sometimes what our goals are. And I think a lot of our podcasts we've talked about, what is success. And, sometimes if it seems like what you said today, and, what I've heard from you in the past is that that's real important to you. So I think that's our
Yeah,
first light bulb moment: find balance in life.
I think that's right, and I think yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And I used to think I would say that to myself or remind myself just to sort of make myself feel better in those moments. But the older I get, and I say this relatively speaking, wiser I get. Yeah, do I am better now at really realizing a much more grounded measure of success. My mother had passed away when my son was very young, but he, being in New York, he got to spend time with her, and that to me was I couldn't be more thrilled about that, about the
Absolutely.
relationship that my kids still have with my father, with their cousins, with the relationships I were able to maintain, with friends who I grew up with, who I know they get together a lot in person. And my first sort of tour of duty in LA, I was jealous about it. It was, I didn't have, I didn't, I didn't have that balance. I spend a lot of time, and I use this metaphor sometimes with my son when he sees other people like, oh, this guy's my age and he's doing this and he's making that. And it's like, you know what? You could look right and you could look left and you could probably learn some things, maybe what to do or what not to do. But you know what you really should be focused on is just looking straight ahead.
Yeah,
And I've gotten better at that. And I think in this particular example, looking straight ahead really was, yeah, you know what? We're living pretty well. We were smart about the way we saved money for college. We were able to take, family vacations. We've got a roof over our head. I said before, I have this luxury, which I acknowledge, of sort of being bi-coastal. Am I a gadillionaire? No, but I have all these other things that made me feel rich. Uh, that
I
it took
love
me a
that.
while to be like really happy about.
No, that's really powerful stuff. Because yeah, I mean, you achieve this, and you and I have had this long discussion, and usually it's over a long drinking period. So this is gonna be is sort of weird talking to you about these things when we're sober. But the
Well,
idea,
Phil, I feel like everybody now is a fucking drug addict, like
yeah,
like an addict on this
acid
on this thing.
drinking.
Well, look, those are just two. I'm 55. Those are just the only 2 days, the only two times in my life I've ever done anything bad was I had drinks with Phil and I went to a Dead show. That was it.
That's it. So, and we've been together at in New York many a time. So
Many times, many
many
times.
times. So now I forgot what I was going to say, of course. But oh, so sitting down and talking about it,
Yeah.
it's only, and you don't know I'm going to say this, is that you were sort of the foundation of my transition into where I am today. And it was very
Oh, I
important.
didn't know that. I had
No,
no
you
idea.
you didn't. And I didn't tell you. I've been waiting for the right time. But finally this is the right time.
Oh, I'm flattered.
So when we were sitting down, and remember, I was just sort of shifting, and I just had read the book "Find Your Why" by
Yeah,
Simon Sinek, and
yeah.
I had just sort of transformed. I just had read the book, and I started writing and doing the exercises. And Tom Niederloh, if you're listening to this, I'm still waiting for you, buddy. Another fraternity brother.
Hey,
So big.
Tom.
Hi, Tom.
I haven't seen him in a long time. Good guy.
Yeah, he always pops in and out every once in a while. Still good with Tim Green, I think. So So I said I started to develop it, and then you allowed me to sort of talk it through because that was you were the first person I could really talk it through with, and so we talked it back and forth, and it was some very heartfelt discussions that we had, and it sort of pushed me into the path that yeah, this is a priority. We talked about it, both of our problems that we were having at the time. How can we improve them, and where we're going to go, and it sort of drove me into the idea of is that I have to find something and it's not money. It's not spending more time with my family. I spend the quality time with my family and there we can do other things together. It wasn't, building like a superstar law firm, even though our team is phenomenal. It
Hmm.
wasn't any of those things. It was the fact that I had to give this outlet. I had to try to help impact people. I had to expand my network and grow my network. And what happened is that it all resulted in this podcast, which if I could do this every single day, now I did 3 podcasts this week, I would do it every single day. And getting to talk to people and connect and even doing this with you, it gives me such great joy. So, and we're not monetizing this in any way. So it's kind of like to your
Whoa,
point.
wait, I'm not getting paid for this?
No, no, no. You're getting monetized. I'll buy you a drink.
Oh, geez. Well, had I known that. Oh, I have a call. Phil, I have a call in 3 minutes. I got to run.
What a buzzkill. I try
Oh,
to.
stop it. I know. All right. You haven't, I'm sorry. 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 You haven't,
Oh,
you're not monetized this. No,
nah,
look,
forget it. It's over. The
no, it's
feeling
really not
is
because
gone.
let me pick it up where you left off. I am really, I was going to make a joke to say that I'm glad my misery, my misfortune, benefited you. But no, I appreciate you saying that. I've learned. Here's another thing with a light bulb moment. It took me a long time to realize that um, there's really no shame in opening up and sharing those experiences, sharing, you and I work in very different industries. We grew up very differently, but there is, regardless, I think a shared experience outside of, age, gender, or family men. You really start to talk about values,
Yeah.
how to look at things. I did a lot of the reading that you had recommended, some of which you just mentioned now with the Sinek book. Um, and I think I think a lot of it has to do with timing. I think the timing was right then. I knew that they were, I was at a low point with respect to my career. And again, my career was not done. I realized that I had put so much of how I defined myself uh, in my career, or define myself by my career. And that is sometimes a shortcoming of living in LA, because look, I mean, what I think people don't realize outside of LA is there are plenty of dentists and lawyers and bankers and plumbers, and it's everyone thinks it's Hollywood. It is predominantly, compared to anywhere else in the world, a showbiz town.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I was there in the '90s, and I was a very low level exec, and all of a sudden my dentist, while he's putting a cap on my bottom tooth, is he's got an idea for a television show. But it is sometimes you just sort of, you do get defined, or you fall into the trap of defining yourself by your job, because that's how you make a lot of your friends. You spend a lot of time with these people. Once you're in production and actually making a television show, it's a very concentrated period of time, and you make and form these bonds and these relationships. You're on the phone with the same people over and over again, and all of a sudden, when you're not in that conversation loop anymore, when you're not in that production, when you're not sort of, you know, you're not on the phone with them on a regular basis, because look, there's only so many hours in a day, and they've got to pick up the phone and move their business forward. It's that, what's the hard way of saying it? You sort of find out who your real friends are versus your sort of work friends, or a friendship that's based on it's transactional.
It's transactional.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
it was a bummer for me, because I was not only 3,000 miles away from the heart of it. I was in New York, but I was like, shit, I realized I needed to stop defining myself just by my job, or the success of my job, or the level of where my job was at. And I got through it. But it was actually a great experience in hindsight. Didn't feel good at the time, but and I think you were a big part of that for me too. I mean, you were also a great friend during that time. You would call to check in on me. You would nudge me if I was doing the reading. You were telling me about stuff that you were doing. So my guess was at some point, and it was always out of a great place. So I really do appreciate that, Phil. I owe you a lot. I think there were
So
times where you were trying to really strongly recommend things, and then there were times where you were going to tell me about stuff you were doing to maybe be like, well, if I can't shove it down his throat, maybe he'll pick it up by osmosis.
you say
But
I'm manipulative,
no, I said you were smart.
manipulative.
I say you were probably a good dad. Some kids need to get pushed. Others, you need that sort of reverse psychology.
So can I safely say that our relationship is not transactional?
Oh, absolutely. It never was, but it's
Woo.
it's in funny. I really have benefited it from a different way. Look, I always love to see you. When I go to Northwestern and I go to the football games and the tailgate, I'm like, Phil, you got to come. And
Yeah.
I just love seeing you. And we talk about some of the old times. And again, only the third time I've ever done this. We'll have a couple drinks and in the parking lot. And it's look, you're an old friend. Look, I will say this for your audience, and I've told this story to you many times. Both my kids had went to school in Chicago, and now my son is still there, and they're both good kids. Their mother did a great job with them, uh, and I told them if, for God forbid, you're ever in trouble, you ever get arrested, you
Yeah.
ever find yourself in the back of a police car, you tell them you want your one phone call is to call your attorney, and you call this number, and that number is Phil Finaro. And I really do mean that. I really do mean that. Even if at the time when I told him this, if you and I hadn't spoken for 6 months, a year, 3 years, I mean, there were periods of times in the 90s or even after that where we hadn't spoken for a long time. I always knew that there is a bond there that made sense. But what I love now more is that I don't say our relationship is transactional. I would say our relationship has evolved.
Yeah, it has evolved. Yeah. No, that's a great way to say, revolving. So there you go. You know,
No, evolving, not revolving.
no, no,
Evolving.
it's revolving too, baby. No, it's
I
evolving.
don't. No. What? No. No.
Yes,
Say it again.
yes,
Evolving.
yes.
It's evolving.
Evolving,
Oh, jeez.
evolving,
No, and I
evolving.
appreciate that, but I look you again. You were a good, and I think that's part of having a support system. And that's sort of what I meant to say before in a clunky way. There's no shame involved, but it's I you will I think I've risen to an occasion or a level that maybe I wouldn't have before with a really sort of I wasn't ever one who thought I needed that sort of a support system, and I realized I did, and I realized I benefited from it. And it's you and a handful of other people for different reasons at different times that are still sort of in my whatever you want to call it, monthly, quarterly, sort of rotation vernacular that I connect with, and it's enormously beneficial. Maybe that's a light bulb moment for to share with everybody here is that these relationships, you're not just keeping a list. It's not he with the most friends dies, wins. You really can take something from it, and it's really a pleasure to give back to it.
Yeah, it's foundational, to life, and we're all going to go
Mm-hmm.
into through tough times, and we will go through more, as we go along. But having this, sort of relationship that's not transactional, that's meaningful, that really is very important in both business and in life, and that's what this
Yes,
podcast is about. And I
yes.
like that it's not revolving, that it is evolving.
It's evolving. You and I have evolved, but I like that we put a label on that transactional thing because I think there is a lot of that out there, and that's okay. I think as long as the royal go into it knowing that your expectations have to change, and they should, and just sort of who your friends are and who they aren't.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Is that we've been sort of developing and evolving the podcast, so to speak,
Hmm.
in that I've sort of shifted away from those transactional. I didn't even know till today. So that's my light bulb moments is what are the things that bother me about relationships? And it's the ones that are transactional, that they only have a certain purpose to help them for a certain thing. There's no give and take, no growth in the relationship, no potential for growth in the relationship. And those have been pushing aside. And what it's done for me by pushing those relationships aside, it's allowed me to spend more time with the people that I really want to spend time with that are not transactional. I love that, Lou Wallach, transactional. It makes me very happy.
You're welcome, Phil.
And also, you taught me something new today. The royal you, is that what you say when it's not?
Uh, It's probably, yeah, it's the royal you, the whatever, when it's not you per se, not you, Phil,
Yeah.
but you, your audience, you, anybody.
No, I
There's
understand the
other ways of saying
concept.
it.
I'm a
Yes.
quick study,
There's,
so yeah. But
okay, just making sure. Well, you did say revolving, but it's supposed to be evolving. No, I've heard it said the world. There's another version of saying that, and I just can't remember it off the top of my head at the moment. But yeah, I've heard it say the
just play
royal.
like it's the right thing, so that it's
Oh,
just you.
sorry. Okay, let's start. Yes, it's the royal you means that bigger group, the everybody group we're talking about.
Hey, Doug Sandler, can you please check if I did in fact say revolving? Because we're betting a dinner on that one. Please do a check on that. Doug Sandler's our producing company Turnkey podcast. They're fantastic.
Gotcha.
So
Oh,
now,
now we're plugging these guys. Okay, got it.
oh, they're great. I don't. All I do is talk.
You
This
should
is
have
just.
him. You should have him call me. Maybe he and I could do something together, and
Oh
you could represent him. See, but this isn't
no
trades.
no
I
no
think now,
no.
but here's a good way to now. Here's a distinction. Our relationship isn't remains non-transactional, but there's also no reason why, as friends, we shouldn't be helping each other in business, and we can all benefit from it.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. If you two connect and you win, I don't want any benefit because the benefit is I'm happy. But absolutely, friendships, it's not all about, love and happiness. It's about, putting people together. That's what we're trying to build this network. All
I
those
agree.
transactional people aren't invited to listen to this podcast. So it's the idea of we want more like kind people, but I will connect you with Doug Sandler. That would be a great
Sure,
connection because he
sure.
he deals with a lot of podcasters, a lot of people. This might be that's fantastic. We
And
could
I'm happy
stop.
to talk to him.
Oh yeah, no, I'll connect you right away. It'd be right when I'm done here.
Okay.
So just before we get on, we almost tortured we haven't even gotten to the good stuff about your creativity and this, and I want to
Okay.
get
All
to
right.
that. But I do
Yes.
want to shout out to John Nospelius out there that if he listens, that Saturday, Cool Guy and I will be expecting our Gigio's pizza uh, from last
Yes.
year's bet. And
Yes.
he's
That's
been very
this Saturday, like in tomorrow, or the next home game, which is a week from tomorrow, I think.
week from tomorrow. A week from
Week from tomorrow.
tomorrow. Yeah, yeah. You're going to be in Manhattan, so I won't see. I
I was
might come.
supposed to go though, so I was meeting Jay, our mutual friend Jay Kim, also for 30, but had a ticket for me, and unfortunately, I told him I had to go to New York instead to see my dad. But I envy you guys because it's that's the last home game of the season. I guess the rest of them are down at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be weird on the lakefront, but that's okay. I want to go see. I want to drive by the old stadium, see how they're progressing with that. That's kind of cool. I can't even
Good.
believe. I'm afraid to go back there. Every time I go back to Northwestern, it's like there's a new building that's like
A lot of them. A lot of them. By the way, Doug's gonna be able to cut this out, right? That'll be his big test of whether I want to work with Doug or not. He's gonna cut out all this crap.
why?
I don't know.
Wait,
Valerie
wait.
told me that he's a really good editor.
No, no. I think
I'm just rambling on because I thought you were going to lift it. I don't know.
no, that acid thing's going out maybe, but
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. All right.
So let's get into this because this is I think
Mm-hmm,
if anybody is it was they were tortured by our back and forth. I don't think they are because
mm-hmm,
there's a lot of good stuff there. But I really want to get into this, your history, with Comedy Central, and
mm-hmm,
because I
mm-hmm.
know nothing about this, and I know about your career, but I want people to understand how a creative goes through, and hopefully that's what you call yourself as a creative. Maybe you call
Yeah,
each other. But tell me a little
yeah.
bit about how you started. What was the name of, actually at Northwestern? What was the name of the school? It was the School of what?
I mean, it was at the time it was called the School of Speech. It's now the School of Communications because I think it allows them to raise more
That's
money.
right. I got it. I
And
got
it
it.
sounds much fancier. But
Yeah.
I actually started. And I would give this advice to any person, and particularly any young person. I really did lean into it with my kids. Was do not be afraid or do not procrastinate like seeking out guidance, which I did not do. So I originally started at Northwestern's School of Arts and Sciences, and I was going to graduate with a BA and some, history, some economics, poli sci. I really didn't have, or I wasn't aware of what my interests and my passions were, and didn't realize at the time, or at least at that age, that I'd probably get more out of and put more into something that I was, legitimately interested in. So, um, after sort of flailing the first 2 years, I was able to switch into the School of Now Communications and get myself closer to. They have a very prestigious undergraduate radio, television, film program there, which I did not
That's
have
what it
enough
was.
time to graduate in that major. Quite
Yeah,
frankly,
yeah,
I
yeah.
graduated in communication studies, which is essentially the study of nothing. But
It's
I
like
was able
political
to take,
science. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I took almost as many classes in television and film history, theory, structure, things like that. So it didn't really matter. I mean, by the way, I work in an industry where you could have. I work with people who are engineers who are writing sitcoms. It honestly, it doesn't make a difference. Um, but
That doesn't
that's
correlate. Why is that?
why, because I think it's the same way when you said to me earlier in this discussion that you're not a creative. Everybody is to some degree, I believe. Everybody, well, maybe this is a better way to wrap your head around it. Everybody's an audience member, right? You watch television, you go to a movie, you listen to an album or a podcast, and you have an opinion. You like it, you don't like it. You know, the next level up is, can you really articulate constructively why, what worked, what didn't work, what how it might have worked better had they
Ah.
had they done this or that. And I think everybody has, to some varying degree, a some part of their brain, I can't remember, it's the left side or the right side, whichever one controls that crap.
I was hoping
But
you were going to do it because I always get it wrong. And you're a creative. You're
it's
supposed to know.
it's well, I just know that it's one half of my brain, but or at least the other one doesn't work. But it's it's I can't remember what I was talking about. But yeah, it's you,
Everyone has
everybody.
a little creativity
Well,
in
I
them.
think everybody's got a little creativity in them, and I think a lot of it has to do with your drive and passion. And I knew plenty of people that I started in this business who were probably a year or two older than me, who were back making, I mean, they were paying us peanuts. I mean, I graduated from Northwestern with a degree and the cost of what a private, institution's, tuition is frightening. And
Frightening.
I show up in California and I get a job at the time, and I actually I don't think the number would be that much higher, but you know, because I didn't want to be a writer. I didn't want to be a director. So I'm not a creative in that sense. I knew enough to know that there were television executives and movie studio executives who work with those creatives. They have to have a creative mind. In the industry I work in, I'm known on to have made my bones on the creative side of the business. But my role as a creative, when I'm a network executive or a studio executive, where I was at CBS, at Fox Studios, at Comedy Central, at Netflix, my role through working with the creatives is to try and sort of navigate the creative in these projects, that tension between creative and the business of creative, the commerce part of it.
Oh.
Whether you're Netflix with subscribers or Comedy Central with ratings, we're all getting paid from the revenue that these projects bring in, the number of eyeballs, the number of subscribers. It is a business. Nobody, this isn't a gift. It's a business, and it needs to work, and it needs to make a profit, and it needs to run efficiently, and decisions need to be made. And that's sort of the role that I have. From a very 30,000-foot view. But I people in my industry, I would fall onto the creative side in the sense that I have a vocabulary and a vernacular and an experience and a reputation that I could speak in a figuratively in a language to work with those people who I'm going to make sure the people I work for are going to give them the money they need, and tell me based on what I tell them we're doing, to go with God and guide those creatives, those writers, directors, producers, actors, and all the numerous names you see on the credits now. Because I will tell you this, it is a very collaborative medium. Sure, if you're a movie director, you get a lot of the credit, and I don't mean the literal credit. I mean, it's like it's a Spielberg movie, it's a Scorsese film, or
How is
you
it
look at on the
collaborative, Lou? Tell me how it's collaborative.
well, look, you cannot do it alone. You look at the size of these crews, and you look at the expertise that everybody has to have, and even on a TV show, the corresponding person is really not the director. It's the creator showrunner, and that's usually a writer, producer, or a producer who's got creative chops. And they have to hire department heads, and those department heads have to hire staff. Now, they're not hanging the lights by themselves. They're not picking out the wardrobes. But if you think about them in a TV series, the number of episodes and the number of scenes in an episode and the number of years that this thing goes on and everything
Got
else. There are so many things that are moving in lockstep uh, at once,
How do
and
you
they all have.
control that? How do you control
Well,
it?
that's why it's collaborative. It's knowing how to communicate. It's knowing that it trickles down. It's empowering your people to communicate and empowering them to do their job. A lot of people will tend to work with the same people over and over again, which I understand. There's a certain comfort value in that, and at the same time, I think, in fairness, sort of led to what now, which I think is good. A lot of the diversity and anti-exclusion, inclusiveness measures to because again, I think a lot of those opportunities had lived with mostly the people who could afford to come out here with nothing and whose parents weren't in the business and get into it, which were mainly white people. But it's you tend to, my point is you tend to work with a number of people uh, over and over again, and you almost put together a team. But that team doesn't always have a chance to work together. So we all have to speak a language and know how to communicate, and it's like any other big company. I would say the showrunner or the on a TV show or the CEO or the director in a movie is like the CEO. How does anybody know what, I feel like, um, when those orders, when those mandates, when those visions come from on high from a CEO at the top of the hierarchy of any company, that point of view, that tone, that goal trickles down, and it probably affects everybody a little bit differently this
Interesting.
person because everybody's working on a different facet of the business or a different facet of the television show.
So is a lot of
um,
independence there? And you said, I mean, is it a lot of
there's independence to a point.
yeah.
There's independence to a point. Look, and a lot of the showrunner, it's exhausting, and they're mostly spend their days in the writers' room or doing whatever. But look, I mean, they're looking at a lot of storyboards. They're looking at a lot of samples. They're looking at a lot of stuff, whether it's from the set designer, the production designer, the lighting designer, the costumer, the there were some showrunners I know who, God bless them, they keep their crews happier than others. They're picking up the lunch menus. I mean, it is
Nice.
it's a vision, and everybody's either on board with that vision or they're not.
So
Um,
this is interesting
but
for me because
I don't do that. I really am I become more the partner with that showrunner or that producer, um, and the network partner, because the network is the one funding it. So I'm the one who's there to make sure that this is the project you sold us, and this is now the project I went into my boss to sell. And 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 the reason I sold them on this is because I think this is right for our audience, and
so
it's
tell
something that's
so
yeah.
so tell yeah, I want you to dig into that because this is very interesting. So the network partner, you're on the network side going to
Mhm.
see these people. So how do you interact with them?
Well, they're usually coming to see me. It starts with a pitch. You got an idea. You're someone who's usually you tend to buy ideas from people who have some experience having done this before, or if not, what they call you get packaged with maybe some other people around you who have had some experience before, but you've got a great idea and you're a younger writer with an idea. So the fact that you're going to team up with someone to help execute it, and that person you're pairing up with has some more experience than you do, sort of overcomes that deficit. But people who have experience and have a good vision for an idea will come to a network and they'll pitch that out. And sometimes they'll go into the development step, which means I'll pay you a little bit of money up front for me to control that idea for a set amount of time.
Mm,
And you're going to put pen to paper, and we're going to see what it looks like on paper. The next step from there would be maybe to do a pilot or a proof of concept. It's almost standard R&D type stuff. Are you making a widget? You might be, but in this case, you're making a sample episode of a television show. You're putting it up on its feet, but only one. And then in success you'd go to series, and now okay, I'm going to give you this pot of money, and this pot of money is going to work out to X number of dollars per episode. You've got enough here based on the proof of concept to do 10 episodes, and go. But I don't just let them go and I never see them again until they deliver 10 episodes. I am walking with them through the process, from day one through the even after the launch, even after it goes on air or online, in the case of a streamer. Because things move, the world changes, people come in with fresh ideas, um, hurdles happen. You have to pivot sometimes, and those are conversations that need to happen with the network. You're playing with the network's money. You still always want to know what you think the network. I represent what I think the network's needs are going to be. And the network needs are really always based on the audience. The audience is always evolving. Um, there are certain things where you try to marry. What the audience likes, but you also know the audience always wants something fresh. So, what's a new spin on the familiar, if you will? You
I
know,
see.
it's those are those conversations that network execs have among themselves, and sometimes might pick up the phone and call a producer or a pure creative person that they want to be in business with, and say, let me throw this out at you. I may make two or three of these calls, but you're my first, and I've got this idea I'm toying around with. I want to see if you want to, if you want to take the time that you have on spec, on your own sweat equity and play around with it. And if you're interested, come back. And if I like what I'm hearing, I'm gonna put into development.
Got it. And when you're talking about you, you're talking about the royal you, right?
Correct.
Good, good.
Good callback, Phil. That's called a callback.
That's it. I don't know what they're called. That's
That's a
cool.
callback, Phil.
It's a
That's a callback.
callback.
If you were doing like in a sitcom and we were in the third act, but we were referencing something from the first act, we were calling it back.
Oh, that's awesome. I think we can end now. There's nothing more. I've
That's it.
succeeded. No,
Wow,
no, there's
great. I
more.
mean,
Wait, there's more.
there's much more. I hope I'm not getting too technical.
No, no,
And
no, no.
I
This
don't
is
want people to
exactly what
fall
I
asleep
wanted.
and I don't want people to roll their eyes backwards because there was one guy I listened to your podcast and he started talking about all those property rebates and everything else. And I was like, I have no idea what's going on. So I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah, that's been but that guy's a genius. So,
I was way too smart for me. I'm not shitting on him. I'm admitting I'm a dummy.
no, those are the guys you just say, okay, I agree. Here's some money, please, please invest it. I agree. I
Yes,
agree.
yes.
So,
You seem to be doing okay. I'm with you.
all right, so a callback. So now you brought up something interesting about pivoting and which is an important part of the
Hmm.
podcast. However,
Hmm.
that intrigues me now. What is I listen, you put in LinkedIn, you're into popular culture, and
I
I'm
am.
like, if you ask my family, if I'm into popular culture, they'll just that'll be the funniest thing you ever told them. So I never know what's going on. The other day, I won't make it a little bit politically, problematic, so I don't want to get this podcast about that. They said, my daughter said something. I go, wait a minute. 2 years ago, you told me that this was how it was going to be, and she goes, oh yeah, that was 2 years ago. Now it changed, but it was
Yeah.
diametrically, opposite or
Yeah.
completely opposite. I go, how can that be? You're yelling at me for not doing this,
Hmm.
and then I do it, and then now you're yelling at me for doing what you told me to do 2 years ago. So
I don't understand why you don't understand that, Phil.
no,
What the?
I
I mean,
don't. Well, that's
what's your
why.
what's your what's your point?
My point is, I have here's the point. I have
Okay.
no idea what you're gonna tell me. This is why it's so exciting. It's like, what is the thing that people like now for TV and movies and
Oh,
streaming?
well, you can't. That's look. If I knew that, I'd go down to the what people like store. I'd pick up a couple and I'd go down to I'd go play golf or go down to the bar.
Come on, dig deep,
No,
Lou
look. I mean,
Wallach.
look. It's very. What's interesting is well here. Listen. I mean, I don't. Again, I don't want to go too far off topic or get too heady about it, but like it was really interesting the way people watched. It's an interesting relationship, and I'm just talking about television alone now because that's a big enough pond ocean we could swim in. It's back in the days when there's only three networks, then there was four with Fox that they just sort of had to take what you gave them. When cable started coming out, pay cable with HBO and Showtime, and then all the comedy, all the cable channels between MTV, Comedy Central, Lifetime, History and A&E, uh, Turner Movie Class. I mean, everything became sort of the opposite. It became niche. They all operated by really focusing and concentrating on a niche audience, an audience who at any time wanted to watch something very specific to what you were off. You were offering something very specific. Television for women, Comedy Central, music television, arts and
Mm.
entertainment, history. And
Ah, I get it.
if now the question becomes, did television reflect the audience's needs, or did those needs sort of reflect that somebody in television came up with this unique idea? I
Yeah.
actually don't know the answer. That's a whole different. That's more than a podcast. That's probably you could probably earn a degree in that somewhere,
No, that's
because if
a terrestrial. What is it? It's a
linear, but yes, it would be terrestrial. It would be either, it's well, the terrestrial is really broadcast. It's really, television and radio is broadcast as terrestrial. But it's linear television. It's scheduled. There's, at 9 o'clock on Wednesday, at 10 o'clock on Wednesday, come hell or high water, there's going to be an episode of South Park on Comedy Central. Assuming you can still find Comedy Central, because now Paramount Global has gobbled it all up and spit it onto
oh.
Paramount Plus. But now this is where the third wave came in. This new,
Can we,
what people
before you get into the third wave, I really want to go back to it because that was very interesting to me. Is that it was almost like when we had a set amount of channels, it is
Mhm.
pretty cool. Then everybody would have to pick something that they wanted to watch, and if they
Well, when
didn't
you ask
like
your
it,
parents, when they grew up, or when you grew up, you watch more often than not. You watch things as a family. Like,
of
there
course,
was, right.
of course.
Now it's all splintered. Cable television really sort of splintered that.
Yeah, so this is
Uh,
important. This is important. It's a light bulb, an LBM now we're calling it. I forgot
okay,
last
all right.
episode. So if you look at things in the finite and you're only given something
Hmm.
and you force yourself to pick amongst things or say, well, I don't like any of it, then you're sort of following, the lead of somebody else rather than the lead of yourself. So now it's almost when I think when
Well,
you
in
get
which case, they talk. I mean, I think the amount of choices that cable television gave everybody was, sort of, everybody had a choice. You just weren't doing it together.
yeah,
But what you still had was a sense of community. Now, I don't know if this is the phrase that I think has sort of been in the popular culture, but not just entertainment popular culture. I mean, like, really in American culture is water cooler talk. Water cooler talk really was, that thing where, it doesn't matter if you work at IBM or you work at, at a pornography store, whatever you're on break or whatever it is, you go into the coffee room, you're filling up you're at the water cooler and you're saying, oh, it's Friday morning, and you're going, did you see last night's episode of Seinfeld? Because Seinfeld only was Thursday nights at 9 o'clock on NBC. And there was that water cooler chat. Oh my God, I did see Seinfeld. Did you love the
yeah,
joke when
cheers,
Kramer did
yeah,
this?
yeah,
Cheers. But people would talk about it. You'd find, and then you would look forward to the next week. I'd be in the water. I'd probably show up into the break room, wait, hoping you'd walk in and say, did you see it again last night? And there was that sense of community.
yeah,
And so even if you weren't watching as a family, even with a proliferation of choices and more specific choices, you still had those sense of real in human interaction community. But as we went into streaming, the sense of that human community sort of has gone away. I think, look, for whatever reason, obviously the pandemic is a big part of it. Um, you know, People aren't going to the water cooler anymore. I don't think people are going to the office for the most part more than twice a week, if at all. Um, and you look at something like Netflix, their whole MO is, we have something for everybody all the time. So not only are you not watching as a family, you're also not watching anywhere else. You don't have, if you're watching Netflix, you're not flicking the channel to go to any other streamer or any other thing. And that's their whole MO. That's their whole game plan. They got you. And the water cooler talk, to some respect, has sort of gone away. But with the technical evolution that brought you things like Netflix, it also has brought stuff online, Twitter, other social media accounts where there is that conversation going on. I personally just think there's that element, that human element that's missing to it. That sort of, you know, even if it was, when I used to travel to LA on business, and I'd be at a hotel, one night if I didn't have a dinner or something, and I was having a drink, and somebody was there, some insurance salesman was there for a convention, and we just start talking. He asked me what I did, and I told him, and he would go, "Oh, I love that show," and we would just connect. We'd have a half-hour conversation, lovely conversation, and I would even get his feedback of his show that I worked on. But we would it would bond us. He loved the show, and I loved the show, and who knew that these two very different people in very different industries from very different places could sort of connect over that. There is that connection, but it's all literally digital now.
yeah.
So
But you
it's
seem excited about it.
well, it is what it is. I think it's exciting because there are. It's funny. It's funny in the sense, for me personally, and because I am both an audience member and an industry member. You know, there's people that I know who they really don't. They're not into film and television at all. And look, if you work in film and television, you are interested in film and television. I mean, I watch a ton of stuff. I watch British crime dramas. I watch American stand-up comedy. I watch, my my guilty pleasure is a lot of these, female-driven docu follow series on Bravo, like The Real Housewives. I can't get enough of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, but I watch a spectrum of things. But I think, but I'm an audience member, like in any given job, I'll work on something very specific. Like at Comedy Central, I was really working on half-hour comedy series that were really geared towards a specific audience of mostly men 18 to 34. My parents, would watch something I worked on because they were my parents, but they didn't understand any of the jokes. They're not stupid people. They just were like, it wasn't for them.
Yeah.
But I'm also an audience member. It's sometimes hard to separate myself in some way from doing that. I mean, I will say this, I've enjoyed the proliferation of television going on right now. Because look, I pay for every streaming service. I mean, it's probably not worth the money. There aren't enough hours in a week or a month to use them all. But I like having them because there's still that buzz. And if you're not getting it by meeting somebody, walking your dog or at a bar or even at a meeting, and someone says, "Hey, have you watched this thing on? Have you watched Tulsa King on Paramount Plus? You really should." That's how most people get their ideas for new stuff. It's all word of mouth. It's all conversation. I think marketing, the traditional marketing of television shows, on-air promotions and the old coming up next doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And neither does water cooler talk. It's all sort of, someone's got to recommend something to you, or you usually find out what that recommendation is because people are talking about it online. As an industry member, it's become really tough because without boring your audience to tears, the Netflix effect really hurt, I think, a lot of people on my side of the business, employment wise. There's still a lot of content that needs to be made for all these services, but Netflix is the only one. They have one revenue stream, a single revenue stream, which is subscribers. Yeah, look, they just only 2 years ago added an AVOD service, which is advertiser driven video on demand. But even then, I think for the AVOD service, which takes ads, you'll have to pay $5.99 a month or something like that. But everybody else is Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, Max, all these other big Peacock, all these other big institutions, media institutions have streaming services, but they also still have linear channels. They also still have traditional distribution outlets for film and television globally. So they can't keep up with Netflix. And so basically what they're trying to do in order to feed more of the streaming fire that they feel they need to catch up in is where could they cut back? Well, they can't cut back on the content. They cut back on people. So you've got people now doing the jobs for the same amount of money of two or three people, at least on the network side and on the studio side. And guys like me, unfortunately, there doesn't exist a role there, and because they still need to put up the same amount of content that they have in order to grow these businesses. But so where can they find their margin? Cutting back on people. So there's been definitely a human effect in terms of how it's been delivered, and that's really where you see all this consolidation. Warner Brothers is buying, actually Discovery Communications buys Warner's. Paramount sells itself to, the guy who runs Oracle's kid for $5 billion. And Paramount in the last, I don't know, 10 months has fired, 2,000 people. Netflix has had 1,500. I mean, Disney Television, so including linear channels, ABC, and the streamer has let a number of people go, and they're never fired. It's never with cause. It's we need to back into a number this year for
Yeah.
our investors, for our stock price.
It's the
So
margin. Yeah.
it's the margin, but it's if you're purely an audience member, it's pretty fucking awesome these days.
Yeah. It is and it isn't. As someone that I'm glad you gave us the behind the scenes. That really was impactful to me because now I understand things I didn't even know before, and I think our audience is probably, saying, "Hey, holy cow, this didn't know
I'm
this
all
how this
about
worked."
light bulbs, Phil. I'm all about light bulbs.
You are.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for being all about light bulbs.
I'm all about light bulbs.
So where do you think it goes next? I mean, right now when I try to watch something on TV, let's say Paramount, and I'm using some QR code, and
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
have my, it goes to my wife, or I
Hmm.
have to call her.
Yeah.
I just want
Yeah.
to,
We're in the same boat.
when I see it, I just go, forget it.
Yeah.
I'll go outside and play. You know, whatever the kid, play
Yeah.
basketball or something.
Yeah. I'm
Because
totally with you.
but I mean, at some point, it's got to shift. It's got to be
Well,
like, okay,
what has to shift?
I now I only sort of rely on Netflix.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I rely on a couple movie channels like Showtime. I'm one of the only idiots still to have cable because it's predictable.
I only just cut cable, like only literally only just cut it because I did what I'm going to recommend to you, and it's scary to do. Like when I cut the cord, I was panicked. Cut the
Yeah,
cord. I'd never not had a cord. I don't
yeah,
even have a home phone now. And I was like, what do you mean I don't have a home phone? But
yeah.
it's you really have to sit there and decide where are you spending most of your time? What makes you happy? Look, most people have Netflix because again, the tonnage of stuff. And you're also getting shows made from other countries that, there are people who are used to now. They're conditioned to watch shows with subtitles or dubbing because of the language barriers.
Yeah.
But there are people now who will subscribe to Paramount Plus because you could pay for the more expensive tier, and Paramount Plus is inclusive of Showtime. But they're really buying it because
Oh my God.
they love the Star Trek properties, or more often than not, they really love the NFL. Because when CBS makes their deal with the NFL,
Yeah.
they're paying the NFL even more money because they know, like, okay, I've got to, I got to have this on my streamer. I've got to start building the arsenal of my streamer. Okay, now I'm paying the NFL more money, and the NFL ain't cheap to begin with. So
No.
how do they make their margin? They fire 800 people. It's
And they
why do people
sell rights to private equity.
right?
I know.
Why do people watch Peacock? I think there's plenty of people who say like I want the look, Law and Order is a huge institution. It's like a
Huge.
30-year-old show.
Yeah.
You can get all that on Peacock. You can get all the new stuff from Bravo. They're starting to run some football games as part of the whatever remaining package NBC has. I think it's can't remember. They had some games last year. So all of a sudden you're like, oh, I need to have that. You really got to go down the list and say, what do I need and what don't I need?
But that's
Um,
they're tricky, or they're just lucky. I think they're just tricky because, oh well, let's get rid of this. Well, okay, you have to have Bravo and all those shows, and then you get
well,
this. I looked at the cable that was pretty. It was
yeah.
like there would be like packages where there was like 98% of the things that I didn't want, but there's one thing that I did, and
Well,
then
that's the problem is
yeah,
there was never in that business, there was never any ability to go what they called a la carte. And that was a big thing that was always missing from the cable business. Like you couldn't, you know, because everybody sort of wanted something different. Cable companies couldn't wrangle and make enough deals with the people who supplied those channels to say, I could sell you a la carte and you can make the revenue you think you need to make. And I got enough people out there to pay you for it. They would force a bundle on you. And maybe they'd offer you two or three different bundles. But yeah, you were paying for essentially, if you amortize the cost of each channel, you were paying for channels you were never going to watch. That's why a streamer is basically saying you can pay for a one-stop shop and get it here. Um,
well, here's my thought, Lou, is that remember we talked about that one lady that got the airplanes, the right flights for you? What was she would modify it so that you would get the
oh,
right?
yeah, I mean, there was people you could talk to who could help you. There are people out there who can help you with not flights. They're basically how do you pay for your flights with all the marketing programs they would offer you, like
Yeah,
airline miles and airline points and things like
yeah.
that. So I work with someone who I like. May I give her a plug? Thepointsmom.com. She's terrific. Cindy's terrific.
We
But
don't do that on this.
well, you just plugged your podcast guy
Oh yeah, that's
who I
right.
have to talk to.
No, plugger,
Um,
help us.
and
So
she
so my
really has
point.
helped me sort of use certain. You're right. It's probably a good example. I've renewed certain credit cards and I've discontinued certain credit cards based on airlines that I tend to use or places that I want to travel to, and how my family their behaviors, in terms of like how often we go to the supermarket, or the gas station, different places. Like
Yeah.
the market is worth 4 points versus somewhere else might another type of vendor might only be 2 points. So it's how you're banking those points.
So here's my point, is why don't you figure this out for streaming and all these other things and how to navigate that process? I think that'd be no one would do it better than you, I think, and try to
Well,
figure out a
look,
process.
and I appreciate you saying that. There are people there doing it. I mean, look, we found out the hard way that there's just the way people watch Netflix is very different. So Netflix, their big differentiator, if you've ever noticed, is they put everything up as a binge. You get the whole stack, you get the whole
Yeah,
season in one shot. Whereas
yeah.
all the other
You gotta
streamers
wait.
will launch something a week at a time.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, from a behavioral standpoint, there are certain categories of programs that just don't work for them, or they do way fewer of them, versus they lean into other categories that people can really lean into that binge, even if they don't finish the whole stack in a night or a weekend. Um, what I'm doing now, just since you brought it up and didn't ask, was what do I do? I'm sort of, I think, in the what I am is my light bulb moment was sort of being in this what I call my third stage of my career, which was
We got back to it.
or
Third
my
wave.
third
No,
stage of
you said
life.
third. No, you said third wave.
Third, I said stay. I meant to say did I say wave? I think I said
Oh,
stage, but
maybe that
either
was
way,
about something
you want to
else.
say third wave?
No, no,
No,
no, it's
maybe
third
it's the maybe it's
stage.
the maybe it's the wave of nausea I'm having talking to you. It's
Third
Phil,
stage.
third
Oh,
stage.
that's really
Um,
rude.
Thank you. Uh, I want to do something. Well, I know I've been doing this long enough to know what I don't want to do anymore, and I know also there are some things that really interest me where I want to be able to take what on paper, which I was scared of, and I spent the last, I would say, since the turn of the new year, really focusing on. I've been bringing in income from consulting, which is no longer just a way of saying I'm unemployed. It actually there was a wave here of consulting for companies so they can, because of the needs, the content needs, and uh, the large content needs, and the sort of the pulling back on the number of staff that these companies had. They would bring folks in for me because it's cheaper to pay me for a project. We need you for 3 months. We need you for a specific project that's only going to last 2 months, or I'll pay you a retainer for 8 months, on a non-exclusive basis, whatever it is. But they're not paying for overhead. They're not subsidizing a health plan. They're not doing, so it's still much cheaper for them. So I've been doing that. But in addition to that, really been my other full-time job is focusing on what is the third stage of my career look like. And it's really been about me wanting to not go back to being a network executive. Look, if you called me up and said you could be the president of this streamer or this network, and we're going to pay you $1 million a year, and you get to hire a team of people, yeah, I'm probably going to do that. But that job will probably last 2 or 3 years, and I'd like to work longer than that. That's usually the shelf life of those jobs. What I want to do is I'd like to do something where I have a little bit more skin in the game. I'd like to have a real seat at the table, but I don't have to have the only one. I want to have a no asshole policy. I realize about myself that I'm very team oriented.
Hmm.
I don't want decisions made by committee, but I feel like, you know, the team of people who make things also have to reflect, or probably are part of the team, the cadre, the committee of people who are watching these things. And I think it's short-sighted not to hear everybody's opinion. If you're at look, it's I think it's a higher ask to put a show on Netflix and expect that someone like my age is going to watch, a male is going to watch the same thing as my daughter, who's less than half my age, is going to watch. But we can both subscribe to Netflix, so there's different things for everybody. But there is sort of that joy of thinking about a show that we all can watch together and actually want to watch together. And I think it'd be short-sighted for me not to listen to the young woman who's on my team and what her opinions are of this show that we're working on. And I want to be able to work on content that not only I don't want to buy for one network. I want to package and sell and produce shows for Amazon and Hulu and Peacock and just name them all. But I also don't. I think the real win for me is being able to leverage my experience in sort of male um, driven comedic programming. And look, the world's getting smaller with technology. I mean, the fact that you and I could have this, not that long ago, this video conference would be very fuzzy, and probably, my computer would have like closed it out 12 times. It's the world's getting smaller. I think the international business is getting bigger, particularly in a world where where's the other place they're looking for to make revenues look bigger on margins. Um, doing international co-productions and things like that. Bad example. My wife works at Fox Network. They're only when they buy a show, they're buying it to only broadcast on Fox in the US. The rights to have that show live, or some version of that show live, at the same time in Canada, in the UK, in Australia, and in other languages in other countries also exist at the same time. So how do you monetize? How do you hold on to those rights and monetize all those? I'm interested in that. I'm interested in, I think the lines between sports and um, entertainment are getting very blurry. As Netflix sort of dips its toe into sports, they're going to do an NFL game this year. They're doing a Mike Tyson exhibition fight later this year. They've got the rights to the WWE, but they've also doing a ton of, I don't know if you noticed, documentary series and films that are sports related. That are, they're not going to get the NFL at the moment, but they're doing a lot of documentaries that have access to, sort of what they call access, pulling back the curtain for the audience on an NFL locker room. They have that series, The Quarterbacks. They have they did a thing they were doing with Aaron Hernandez and his story. They did, so they're getting into what they call sports shoulder programming. I would really love to. I'm a sports fan, so I have a passion for it, and I know how to make content. So why aren't I putting those two things together? And that's really what I want to do. I'm sort of part consultant, part packager, part creative partner. And I don't want to be nailed down to any one thing. I can figure out a way to juggle all these things at the same time without being overwhelmed. And, I only need to really have four or five of these things going at any one time. And I could feel good about what I'm doing, cover my nut, and enjoy being out here up until a couple weeks ago because I hurt my elbow. I play tennis 4 hours a week. My
Who,
life is pretty good.
who are you, Lou Wallach?
I have no idea. By the way,
Oh
my
my
wife works her ass
God.
off. Thank God for her.
Oh, oh my God. That was the most wonderful thing. I haven't heard you talk like that ever, and I'm so excited.
Look, it
So
took me a long time to get there. I don't want to be, I sound like that. Look, if I were your audience listening to me, I hate my guts also. But there was a period of time, I mean, Phil will tell you, I would say 2022 and 2023 especially were really, really bad years for me. I was very down on myself. I was very sort of I was caught in a paralysis, and really I needed to reach out to my community and to friends and to people for advice. And I think it's what do you guys say in legalese? It's whoever represents himself as a fool for a client. I was not objective about myself at all, and I needed
yeah.
to realize I had these skill sets and what's the best way to organize them and what's the best way to sort of present them. And I do a much better job of it on my LinkedIn page than I just babbled through now. But I want to be look. I have an expertise in content creation and in reaching an audience um, and in what's going on in pop culture only because I'm an audience guy. Like I love that stuff. Like I read the New York Times every day, but the first sections I go to are not about the war in Israel. I go and I look at the TV section, and I go to the arts and leisure, and I go to the style, and I go to Wordle, and I mean they were pitching a Wordle TV show a couple of years ago. Like I love that stuff. And now that they say the world, like advertising brands are going to start producing their own stuff. Starbucks just announced they have Starbucks Studios. And I don't know if you read that Chick-fil-A wants to have its own streaming service. Like, I don't know what the hell that's going to look like, but that's great because that's more opportunities for me, you
Holy
know?
cow. So this is going to be funny. So I'm going to, I got to reset on some of these light bulb moments because you had about like
Okay. All
40 of
right.
them. However, little LBM action in a couple seconds. So what was interesting about all this is that we've never gone this long in a podcast. So you gave me a
Uh-oh.
great, oh, well, no. Hold on. It's a good with the bed. Just quiet down for a second. So the idea here is that I'm not going to let everyone listen to this whole thing. I'm going to have, you know, how you say people just can binge. I'm going to make them wait a week for the last half, which is, you know, of the
I'm a
podcast.
part. Am I part? This is gonna be part two.
Yeah, part two, I'm going to call it, I think.
You got to double my fee for this because I am doing twice the work.
Zero times two is still zero.
Thank you, Mr. Blutarski. Zero
So,
point zero. Thank you.
fat, dumb, and stupid. All right. So
Fat, dumb, and stupid is no way to go through life, Phil.
that's right.
Tell
So
me.
so this is that you had a bunch of light bulb moments, a bunch of LBMs here, but the cool one, you did a rap where you go back in time. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You said what came out of your mouth, that flow of thought about how you got to where you are and the utter level of positivity in your voice was, I think, because you have had time to think about it. You have time to live life. You had time to go through struggles. You had time to bounce around different cities. And you came back and said, holy crap, I got it now. This is what I see. And the LBM is, you know, leverage my experience. But the interesting thing at the beginning is that you told our audience, our business community, we haven't talked to you in a while here, but walk around during the day or stop and think about things, absorb things. Don't always have to be in what you're doing. And that's where the glory comes for yourself. So I thought that was a fantastic LBM.
Yeah, if I can elaborate on that for a moment. I mean, I walk every day, like I have the dog. I'm walking around, like there's places I could go work, but it's just quiet here, and it's easier for me to do this here. And I used to go out with the headphones. I'd listen to Howard Stern. I'd call my dad. I'd make a couple of New York calls. And now I just stopped taking the headphones with me. And I think, my biggest hurdle is just, by the time I get back to my house, can I remember what the hell that light bulb was? But usually I do.
You
Or
do.
sometimes I'll write it down on the phone because I want to
Yeah.
track my steps. So I bring the phone to track my steps. But what I really did in terms of the thinking was I spent cumulatively, like there was a time, at least I was giving it at least an hour a day, half hour a day for sure, thinking purposefully uh, since the new year, since January 1st, about getting out of the headspace of, I started in the headspace of, wow, I've got 30 some odd years experience in something that's really specific. I'm fucked because in a world where my industry is letting people with this experience go. And if there were any jobs the competition is so great because they let us all go. Um, and, what am I going to do? I'm not qualified to do anything else. And I started to, and this is where my other LBM was, there's no shame in reaching out to other people who might have been in the same situation you are, who might have a little bit more experience, have few more years behind them than I did. And they helped me, without blowing smoke, my ass sort of look at myself just a little bit differently, look at myself sort of 20 degrees to the left differently. It's something I touched on before when I was talking about a show. It's people want that sort of comfort food, but is there a fresh take on it? Is there a new take on the familiar? What's the new take of the familiar on me? And I went from thinking that I can only do this, and if I can't find a job that does this, I'm never going to make a dollar again. To, oh, look at all the things that when I do this that I can offer and how other ways I can apply them. And I'm still in that process now because I want to go meet with companies that do marketing and advertising, whether it's Madison Avenue type stuff or live, activations or, sort of consumer brand supported content. I want to, figure out a way to get into that sports world, and that could even be through gaming or things like that. I want to do shows that are both scripted and non-scripted, and get back into doing something with a lot of, through my years at Comedy Central. And after that, I had a lot of great relationships with talent. I should be leveraging those relationships and saying, what else can we do together? Maybe it's not a TV show. Maybe it's building a brand that starts with a podcast and building a production company off of that. And I realized it wasn't as hard as it sounds. And I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, got it. And, I redid my LinkedIn page. I
Yeah.
started, redid my bio. I mean,
I like it. I
I
liked
was
it.
sort of ill prepared to talk about it. Like I sort of stammered through it today, but it's, in my head, I've got my 30-second spiel, and, it's basically putting myself out there. It's like, there's no embarrassment. I'm somebody who doesn't like to talk about myself in a sense that God forbid it would sound like bragging. I always maintain that when people say you did Chappelle's show, you did the Colbert Report, you did this show, and it's like, well, yeah, I did, but here's the thing, I didn't do it. It was a team effort. I always make sure to say that. Really more because I think it's I literally didn't do it by myself, and I think it sucks when there are those people who, and there's plenty of them for who take credit for things they didn't do. It's just the way I'm wired. But
I
it
love
was
the Chappelle show. That was
it
incredible.
is it was a great experience, and it got me. It still opens doors for me. But again,
Yeah.
I always try to say I didn't do it alone. And friends of mine or colleagues who were helping me through this transition were basically be like, look, everybody knows you didn't do it by yourself. Stop volunteering it. Like be. And I learned how to become a. I could sell you a show. I just couldn't. I had trouble selling myself and being comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And now I'm comfortable with it because you know what? I ain't getting any younger, and I really want to keep working. And I think we're at a point now. Again, for the audience, it's an audience's Eden. It's an audience's wet dream, given the number of audio and visual and what you want, when you want it, where you want it, whatever device you want. And there's really great stuff. There are shows out there, if your audience wants my recommendations, that are amazing out there in all different genres. But right now, getting jobs to make those things on the creative side of the business is very tough. And maybe it'll right now it's in a valley. Maybe it'll come out to a peak again. But you know what? I'm not waiting around for it. And there's room to be entrepreneurial. And I think with sports and entertainment getting closer together. I think with branded entertainment rearing its head again. I think with all the number of places here, instead of focusing on one place, um, I want to be my own boss. I don't want to have to be in a position where someone goes, yeah, stock price really tanked. Go out to lunch, don't come back. Like
Yeah. Please.
I'm not
Yeah.
doing that again. I'm done with
Well,
that. And I feel I can say that confidently.
well, there you go. I mean, that's a process, and I just want to, you're not too old. So I heard this the other day. Obviously, you never know what you're hearing is true, but they're saying that the development, everyone thinks it's these young entrepreneurs, 20s, 30s. They bring great things to the world. However,
Hmm.
most of the the life-changing things for the world come from people over the age of 50 because
Yeah.
they apply the life experiences and
Hmm.
getting rid of all the things that they don't like and concentrating on this, and the life experience gives you this possibility. So it's not we're not dead yet, Lou Wallach.
No, we're not. I agree with that. I mean, there's some days where I forget I'm 55 and I'm like, oh, fuck. I mean, like, my knees hurt, my back, but in my mind, in my mentality, I'm younger than that. And I do believe at the time they brought me into Netflix because the people who brought me into Netflix were folks that I had working relationships with in the past at traditional places like NBC and CBS. And we didn't talk about it specifically, but I do know having, once I started getting my hands dirty day to day there, they had a lot of great young people there with great energy and natural smarts who just didn't know the process or how to. It wasn't what to say, but it was how to say it. And I think I was there as a mentor, and I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. And I haven't lost sight of that either. I think there's a lot for me to learn, and still, which I do get excited about how to use a lot of these things, whether it's you talk about like, oh, the QR code comes on, you say fuck it, I went through that, right?
Oh
And you
yeah.
go like, oh, forget it, I can't watch this. No, it's a lot. It's scary. I think this whole AI thing is enormously scary. You know why it's scary? Because you don't really understand it. I started talking to some younger people about it who were sort of educating me on ways to use it and how different AI programs are different for better types of things you want to get out of it. They're essentially tools, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this isn't so scary. It's like
It's
Google
not
on
scary.
steroids.
No,
And
it's
I really
good.
enjoy it. And you know
Yeah.
what? And they benefit from having me. Like, I think a lot of times I have around like these clients I'm working with at production companies who want to sell content to American buyers. So some are here in the States and some actually happen to be in Toronto. Their development teams are really great. And I go in there and I put on my network hat and I go, all right, pitch me if I was Netflix. And then we go through and we talk about what works and what doesn't work. And I poke some holes in it and I say, here are the questions you're going to ask. Let's try and answer them before they're asked. And I learn a lot from them. You talk about the stuff that is a perfect example is that conversation you had with your daughter about how rapidly things change and move. And I'd be like, well, how do you know that? Well, I listened to it on this. What is this? I never heard of that. I didn't hear the platform or the podcast. Now you're introduced to two new things. I have a half hour to walk around. I'm going to check it out. I'm going to try it. I think
Yeah.
as soon as you lose your curiosity, you're done. You have to remain curious. You have to, and even if you have
Holy
to force
cow.
yourself to do it, you're gonna honestly you're gonna stumble into something you really enjoy.
So that's another
That's an
LBM to
LBM. That's an
L
LBM.
Lou. All right. So here we have to stop, but here this is a proposal I have for you. Is
Okay.
is I think that maybe once a month or once every 6 weeks or something, we co-host
Oh,
a podcast. I think it might be exciting. Although, I got to figure.
here's my problem with Phil is you're very proactively at the top of this whole thing. We're like, we don't monetize it. Phil, time is money, pal. Like I've why
That's
aren't we monetizing this?
Yeah, you know why? Because as soon as I start monetizing something, then it becomes about the monetization, and it becomes about making money off of something that gives me joy. And I make enough
It's so
money
funny you
doing.
say that because you know what gives me joy is making money.
Yeah, well, see, that's different. So how about this? If we can monetize it, you take, but no, then I get too competitive with that stuff.
I feel I'm only half kidding. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would do whatever you want. I'd come, it's I enjoy it. So you want me to come on with another guest or
Yeah, yeah, we would grab a
uh
guest and then we would talk to them about various things. So we'll see. Well,
Phil, you
this
are
thing's
my
evolving.
friend. I love you. I think this was great. I think the fact that you're doing this and that you get joy from it and are not monetizing it for that reason is enviable. I love it. I love doing this. I could have kept talking for another 6 hours, but I'm sure at this point you are tired of hearing me.
No, I'm not tired of
Uh,
hearing you. Yeah, we gotta do it again because there's like
I do. All
there's
right.
so many different here. This is why I say we should do this is that there's so many different paths that I can still go
Yes.
down. I got a gazillion
Yes.
of them.
All right.
That's how I fly. And if I keep on going, we'll never stop.
And
And
I
we'll
have
do it
other
again.
ideas.
We'll
I
just
have other things I can email you about. I think in the world of creativity, where creative is subjective, and where do you? There's all kinds of things that we could talk about that I think are sort of metaphors for life lessons, the way that of baseball are. I think you find a lot of that, and at least I've discovered a lot of those in the industry I work in. And look, showbiz is sexy. I'm sexy, so it's that sort of a thing.
got it. So, and I do want
Oh, you
to.
just glossed over that, Phil. I just come on, man.
No, it is sexy, sort of. I mean, for you, it's sexy. For me, it's just like,
Oh,
if I
Phil.
can watch The Bear, I'm happy. That's okay. Or if
Oh, The
go.
Bear's a great show. It's not a comedy. I disagree with the Television Academy, but okay.
I think most people do that. Fit in somewhere. And if I can watch Breaking Bad, I'm happy. If I can watch it 3, 4 times, that's not sexy. Other things sexy, but
Oh,
I don't
Breaking
know.
Bad was sexy. I loved it. It's such a great television. Here are my three recommendations for your audience. By the way, these are all very popular
Hold
shows
on,
and Emmy
hold
winners.
on,
So
hold on.
come
Before you get
on.
to three,
All
no,
right.
come on,
All
hold
right.
on. I want to hear
All
the
right.
recommendation. Did you ever hate Walt? And don't give away the ending to everyone. Did you
You
ever
ever
hate
hate what?
Walt from Breaking Bad?
Oh, no, no.
You're the only.
I knew what he was doing was wrong, but the reason he was doing it wasn't. And I forgave him for that from the get-go. I think he fell into something people do fall into. So ironically, he was acting like an addict,
He was.
but he never tried any of his product. I love the irony of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But no, I never hated him.
And you're the only one other than me that's ever said that. That's
Oh,
interesting.
really? I mean, here's
Yeah.
the thing, and here's why. I think it's a sign of a great television show. I more than once put myself in his shoes, and I said to myself, I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Top three. Go ahead.
Not no, not top three, not top three. I think every time I talk to you, I'm going to leave you with some recommendations. So today I'm
Oh,
just going to
okay.
leave you three recommendations
All
for
right. Shoot.
television series, and
Got it.
and everybody can go look at stuff they want to watch after that.
It's a great
I'm going to
idea.
say if you like a comedy series, scripted comedy series, Hacks. They won the Emmy for the comedy this year. It's an HBO series, but I guess now you can find it on Max. I don't know what the hell they're calling themselves these days, but
Yeah.
it's Max. I think if you like sort of drama, crime, espionage, the Brits are great at it. There's a show on Apple called Slow Horses with Gary Oldman. Love that.
Oh, yeah.
And I just love this show on Paramount Plus. It is just fun for fun's sake. It's like a modern take on the mafia. It is Sylvester Stallone playing some version of Sylvester Stallone on a show called Tulsa King. It's the guy who created Tulsa King created Yellowstone.
Ah,
It's so
got it.
good. I fucking
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, I've been
It's so
meaning to
good.
watch that. That's great.
Oh,
What's
it's
that one
great.
on? What's that one on?
That is on Paramount Plus.
Got it.
Uh, and next time I speak to you, I will come with another three recommendations for you.
However, we need a fourth, and it's got to be
Why
Lou
does there have to be a
Wall.
fourth?
There has to be. It's the bonus one, the Lou
Oh,
Wallach special. Your favorite one that you worked on
oh, that's tough. Ever or recently?
ever,
Ever. Ah, that's tough.
or recently.
There are shows that I mean, Chappelle Show. I can't. I just wish there were more of them. That we could save that story for another day.
Yeah.
When he left, but look, Chappelle's Show will always be near and dear to my heart. I would say some of the recent shows that I worked on at Netflix. I worked on a show with a guy who really was a writer. He made his bones and his living as a sitcom writer for CBS, and he created a show called Everybody Loves Raymond. His name is Phil Rosenthal, and after he retired from writing, he really pursued his exploration of his love for food globally, and how food really brings people together and really makes people happy. And he goes around the world trying to expose the rest of the world to the food culture of these countries. And it's a show called Somebody Feed Phil. It's a travel show, and it's just fun. And I think it inspires people to maybe get out of their homes and now that the pandemic's over, to go save a couple bucks. I mean, some of these cities are not expensive to get to, and to go try some of these places and ask some of these questions and try some of these foods are fucking amazing. I went on one of the episode tours with them, and it was just fantastic. It was just really nice, and I think it's a show that I don't care how old you are, young you are, what your gender is, or how you identify. It's very accessible,
Wow.
and that's on Netflix.
Got it. Yeah. All right. Well, those are some great recommendations. I'm definitely watching the Tulsa King and yeah, after my namesake here. Someone feed Phil.
Somebody feed Phil, please.
Please. All right.
Phil, thank you so much. This has been. I think I can cancel my therapy on Monday because I don't need to do this now.
We'll listen to this one again. I'll send it to you immediately. So
I can't wait.
So
and Doug, call me. We'll do lunch.
Hilarious. All right. So let me go. I'll connect you on that. And how before I go, and before I wrap up here, how can people reach out to you? What's the best way to reach out to you?
My LinkedIn.
Got it. Got it. Lou Wallach, LinkedIn.
My LinkedIn. There's absolutely, I always guarantee there's no promise I'm going to get back to you, but that's the best way to try and reach me.
He'll get back to you. You better get back to you. Otherwise, we'll cancel this podcast.
I mean, Phil, it's like I'm the guy who goes to these, when there's like conferences and things, like I don't bring business cards. Because you know what? Don't fucking call me. Don't bother me with oh, your mother pitched a show. It's really good. You want to hear it? No, I don't. You should do a show about this law firm in LaGrange. It's hilarious. No.
Hey, that's horrible. Hey, Bright Community, I want every one of you to send a pitch to Lou this next week, please.
Where is my light bulb moment swag? You're not giving out T-shirts or hats or anything?
Oh, we will. I think we're gonna have to.
Okay. All right. I don't want a mouse pad. I don't want a pen or a mug. I want a hat or a T-shirt.
It's so demanding, so horrible. All right.
I just gave you an hour 45 of my time, Phil.
Oh, that's great. Wait, maybe yourself. I gave you an hour 45 of my time.
You asked me to do this.
You agreed.
Oh.
All right.
Well, we all make mistakes.
All right, Phil. Let's take a step back. So I want everyone, even though it may take your whole life, this will be in two parts, as we said. We're going to talk all about the things that we just went through, and light bulb moments were abundant. It was like a plethora of light bulb moments. Keep your balance in life. Look straight ahead. There's no shame in opening up to another. Don't make your relationship transactional. That one really, really hit me home. Don't make it transactional. Make it evolve. Don't make it revolve. Make it evolve. And friendships are foundational. Pivot when you need it. Empower your team. Remain curious. And I think my favorite of all right now is leverage your experience and don't ever give up. Focus back on what you're doing and learn from your mistakes, learn from your growth, and then do something great with it. So those were super, super powerful. I loved it. And I do want to admit that I did graduate in 91. Very, very important. I acknowledge my mistakes as I always do, and I want to acknowledge my next mistake. Yom Tov.
Oh, thank you, Phil. And to
Very
all
good.
your Jewish listeners, an easy fast. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate it.
Very good. So, hey, Lou, we'll get you on soon, and I'll reach out to you. I may fly. I'm so excited. We'll fly out. This was much more productive than
I'm looking forward to it.
our
Hey,
drunken discussion. So,
I was going to say, Phil, I'm coming up November 8th for Parents Weekend. Maybe we could do one in person.
oh yeah, let's do that. I got to see. I got to pop to New York, but yeah, for sure. Maybe November 8th. I will be in town. So yeah,
All
let's do
right.
that.
All right.
All
I will
right.
see you then.
All right. Thanks so much. And for our break community, do something cool next. Pay attention to this podcast. Figure out what you're doing. Try something new on the next episode, and take some time for yourself. Okay. Take some time, relax, think about things, and then you'll get to the next level. I guarantee that that time alone, that time thinking and sabbatical or wherever you want to call it, is going to drive you to the next level. So until next week, have a wonderful week of, and I got to wrap again. I got confused, but yeah, thanks a lot. I'll wrap in a second. Lou,
Can
that
I
was
hang up now?
awesome.
Can I hang up
No,
now?
you
Oh,
can. No. Don't hang up yet. So, what'd you think?
yeah, I had a good time.
It was fun, right?
Yeah, for sure. Are you kidding? The time flew by.
Yeah, I'm so tired. It's so funny. I
I'm
definitely got
sweating.
to.
I'm dripping sweat.
Well,
Thank
you're
God there's no
hot.
video. I know.
That's so cool. Well,
I'm
I
sexy.
also maybe by November we're gonna have some in-person ones too. So I'm gonna start doing the audio and the video, and because one of my buddies has got a podcast
Yeah,
set
yeah,
up.
yeah.
So I
Oh,
want to
that's
start
cool.
doing that, and then we'll have a drink or whatever. Some people have a cigar or whatever the case may
Oh, we'll
be.
have a cocktail over that. I like that now.
Yeah,
I may have to fly in for that.
yeah, yeah. Well, when you're in, we can just do it.
I would like that.
Oh, that was fun, Lou.
All right.
All right, man.
Phil, I'm going to go downstairs and get ready for we're having some people over for breakfast tomorrow. So we're just setting everything up and enjoy your weekend.
You too, man. Appreciate
All
you.
right. Of
Okay.
course.
All
You
right.
too.
All
See
right.
ya.
Bye.
Bye.
So we'll just do that end again. Uh, bef Before our next episode, learn something new, mentally connect with somebody, add another tool to the toolbox, and reach back into your experiences and try something new. Give yourself some time, break away from the hustle and bustle, and really focus in on what you really love to do, and it will come back tenfold, like Lou explained to us. So, anyway, see you next week for another positive day of illuminating thoughts and light bulb moments.